Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this Explearning conversation between Greg and myself, Mary Daphne. How are you doing today, Greg?
I'm doing quite well. Yeah, I'm excited for our topic.
Yeah, me too. It's one of these topics where we're going to go a little bit in depth with the phrase, please let me know, when making a request.
Okay. So this would be the sort of little thing that you add, the phrase that you would add either to the start or end of a sentence, something that you're asking someone for.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Right. So, for example, please let me know if you can pick up some broccoli on the way home.
Got it. Right.
the
Or
beginning.
something like, I have an appointment today. Please let me know if you can do this at another time.
Right.
Right.
So the reason we're not a fan of that phraseology is because it kind of comes off as a little bit aggressive and a little bit pushy. And, it's like not really taking into account or consideration what their time commitments, their, other things going on in their life. It just seems a little bit forward and too direct, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like demanding information from the person.
Yeah.
When typically the phrase already implies that you're looking for an answer from them, right?
Right.
And so I think it's one of those things where if you needed to add the please let me know, you might not have phrased the request or question in the best way to begin with, right? If you need to add that sort of demand of clarification, then it suggests that maybe you could have phrased it more clearly so that you didn't need to add it, right?
Right.
I think the best kind of requests come off in a way where you don't have to demand the answer. The answer is sort of implied.
Right, exactly. And you already kind of know how they're going to answer as well, right? You kind of read the room, you feel out the situation, and you know whether to ask that of them or not, right? Like if you know, for example, that let's say I'm asking Greg to pick up some broccoli sprouts on the way back from work, but I know that he's really busy today, and I know that, maybe he had a really intense day. That might not be the best thing to ask, right, for him to pick up on the way back from work, because he might not be in the zone for that. And that's something that I have to respect, right, as a person asking the question.
Yeah.
Whereas contrast that with somebody who is already at the farmer's market and they have some time on their hands and they're just perusing and they're looking around, then you could probably ask that and get an affirmative answer as a response.
Yeah, exactly. And if you ask the question, so the way I would ask that question is, would you mind picking up some broccoli? Right? Now, if I say, would you mind picking up some broccoli, and then I say, please let me know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it just feels pushy,
Yeah,
right? I was already, if you had just said, would you mind picking up some broccoli, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need you to then layer on another demand.
Right.
It turns what is a polite request into a pushy request.
Right. It gets a little pushy. So let's talk about now in the face-to-face communication setting with that phrase, please let me know, and email. So I see this a lot in emails, right? Please let me know, period. Something probably better to that would be, something like keep me in the loop, keep me posted. It's a little bit less, pushy. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I find that the more specific you can be with your language, the better off you are, particularly when you make a request. Because the more general your language is, the more demanding it becomes.
Yeah.
It basically says, I'm too lazy to get specific. I'm just going to put a general request and emphasize the fact that I want you to do something for me.
That's a very good point.
Right? When you're specific with your language, it shows that you really have thought through this request. And maybe the person you're requesting it from is particularly well suited to helping. Right? So I think the more specific your language is, the more polite it is, because it just shows that you put more thought into the request.
Right. and that you're taking care not to be, overly demanding or combative, maybe not so much, but pushy, right?
Yeah, or domineering.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good one.
Trying to assert your authority,
Right.
in a way that might not be appropriate for the dynamic that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's also very good for in person as well, like being more specific. For email, 100%, because there's so much that gets lost in, the in-between, right? Trying to read between the lines and infer meaning in an email when we have the lack of the nonverbal communication and the paralinguistics. But with a face-to-face setting, we should also try to be as specific as we can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was thinking about it. So one way to sort of drive home what we're talking about in terms of specific versus broad.
Yeah.
Please let me know is very broad, right? Now, one way, this is wordy, but I think it helps illustrate what we're discussing here.
Yeah.
You could say, please let me know because I know you have a busy schedule today and I don't want to interfere with family time.
Right.
Right?
That's a good one.
So that way you're sort of expanding on why you want some confirmation on whether they're able to do it or not, because you care about not overly impacting their day. Right. So the point is you're showing some thought and care for the request.
Definitely.
Whereas if you just leave it at please let me know.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's so vague and broad that it seems demanding.
Definitely. Yeah. And again, you're more likely to get an affirmative answer if you go through these steps, right? You may be thinking, oh, why do I even have to be specific? Why do I have to think about how their day is going, read the room, get a sense of what, their response might be? Well, it's because you want to get that affirmative response. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So we do have to do the heavy lifting ahead of time in order to get the answer that we want. And believe it or not, this is a way of being persuasive, right? This is a type of persuasive communication tactic because you want somebody to do something or help you with something. You want to get an affirmative, positive response, right? So...
And not only do you want the affirmative, this is another important aspect of it.
Yeah.
Not only do you want the affirmative response, you want them to feel good about doing the task. Because there's a difference between a begrudging fulfillment of a task and an enthusiastic fulfillment of the task, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The begrudging fulfillment, they might do it, they might not do a good job though, or they might only do it partially.
Yeah, and they might resent you for it.
They might resent you.
Then,
yeah, it's just not comfortable. Whereas if you can phrase something in a way where they're excited to help you, they're enthusiastic about it, you're going to get a much better result. Not only do you get the result, you get a much better result.
100%.
So like you're saying, it totally pays to put the time in on the front end to sort of to really put effort and thought into how you phrase the request.
Yeah. So when the next time you ask, if you think about something that you need, like instead of saying, something like, do you have any moving companies in mind? Or do you know of any moving companies? If you do, please let me know, right? Yes, it's specific in some ways because you're telling them what you need, but it's not as kind of a request and it's not as well thought out. And that's why we gave that phrase in the previous week about if you happen to.
Yeah.
Because that really alleviates the pressure for having to scramble to find some information for you. It's if you happen to stumble across something or if you happen to already know or have already used that service.
Yeah, you position it sort of as a hypothetical, right? That's optional as opposed to a demand that must be fulfilled.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are all a few little nuances to keep in mind that makes our communication that much better, that much clearer, that much more effective. And, you don't have to be verbose about it. You can be as concise as possible. In fact, it's better when you're trying to persuade something of something to be more concise. But that way you really get to the point of something.
Yeah. I think the more thought you put into it, the more concise you're able to be. Because you know exactly what you want and you phrase it accordingly.
So try that next time. Let us know how it goes for you. And I think, it's a good one to have in your toolkit.
Yeah, very handy for, getting a desired outcome. So definitely worth investing in.
That's right. All right. We'll
All
see you
right.
next time. Happy exploring.